So hello and welcome to the summer programming grant information session. My name is Jonathan Clark, and I am the Youth Services Consultant at the Vermont Department of Libraries. And I also have Lily Talbert with me today.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lily Talbert. I'm the Communications and Administrative Coordinator at the Department of Libraries. You may be getting my resource updates a couple of times a week. Nice to see everybody.
And if you haven't subscribed for the Department of Libraries newsletter, you should do that. Lily's been doing a great job with our newsletter, so I should plug that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. There should be plenty of time at the end for questions. If you have questions specific to anything as we're talking about it, feel free to put something in the chat. And if it makes sense, we may stop and answer a couple questions. But if you have more questions of like, I was having issues with the application, those kind of questions will wait till the end. And we will try to help answer any question you might have to the best of our ability. So we'll go ahead and get started. So today we're just going to just do a basic overview of the grant, how the funds can be spent, some ideas of what you can do with it, and an overview of the application itself, and some of the associated paperwork and reporting. And then again, lots of time for question and answer. So that's pretty much it. So the grant itself is it is $300, which is I believe this is either the second or third year that we increased it from $200 a couple of years ago, and it is the basic idea is to support youth and families at public libraries during the summer. And it is, I'm going to say this over and over and over again, it is very, very flexible, and that is very purposeful. This grant used to be primarily to pay for performers, which you absolutely can still do with it. And a lot of libraries do that, and it's a great use of the funds. But it is not limited to that. So it is very flexible, and we'll talk about some ideas of how you might use it. But I'm just going to keep emphasizing that. And one thing that is mentioned on here too is the collaboration. There are libraries that basically pool their money and do programming together, so that if you want like maybe more expensive, like a performer that is maybe $600, you could pool money with another library, and then it could be a public, especially like a nearby library, and then you could have it in sort of at a park or something like that at a community area. I will shout out the Mad River libraries who do that all the time. They usually pool all their money and have like some big programs that they cross promote and invite community members to. So we always encourage that. And one of the things that we've always encouraged, but we added in explicitly last year, was also that we are encouraging people to think about how they can support the local economy. Again, that is very much the local folks the local presenters and who there's a lot of local like VINs and other vendors and programs that people use that are local to Vermont and New England. And so that is one way, but also just if there's way to support local bookstores or other local museums, we encourage you to think about ways to use the funds in that way. It is not absolutely required, but you will be asked about it on the reporting about how you did or didn't use it in that way. So options for grant money. Again, so you can use for a performer, speaker, author. Oh, thank you. And you can also use it to purchase programming materials. So that could include additional items for CSLP. We just had the order. There are a very small amount of items available that was in, I guess it closed in January, of ordering some supplies through the Department of Libraries. But if there are other additional items that you want, you can use that money to buy items through CSLP. And I'm always happy to talk to anyone about any of that. And then you can also purchase books, any kind of craft like supplies, again, super flexible. And then also one thing that can be used is evergreen items. So things that could support programming this year, but then beyond, which is great. So there are libraries that have purchased a Switch, a Nintendo Switch for gaming programs. There's libraries that purchase the Cricut machines, 3D printers, those kind of things that maybe have been on a list of things that you wanted to get that you can use for summer programming, and you will be asked how you used it, but then obviously those are things that you can use beyond, which is always great to be able to have those things live on. So this is just a slide of, again, this is actually from the reporting, which we'll talk about at the end, but this is some of some pictures from some of the reporting from last year of ways that the summer grant was used. So Burnham Memorial Library purchased Wonder Books, which are books that have an audio component, but are fairly expensive. So they used it to purchase those items and have like a listening area because they've had a demand for that at their library. The Franklin Grand Isle Bookmobile, they travel around to different areas and they do a lot of STEM and craft programs. So they purchased materials for their programs using the summer grant. And at Leach Library, they had, during the pandemic, they had removed a lot of the physical, the manipulatives and toys in the children's area, and they were older, and so they replaced some of those items at their library, and then they did some specific, programming, some open play and school. I believe they also did school groups that came in and used that equipment. So those are just some of the many amazing ways that libraries used the summer grant programs, in addition to, of course, hiring amazing performers and authors to present at their libraries. Are there any questions about that? I feel like we can pause here for a second. We're going to go through all this pretty quickly. Any questions about what you can or can't use the funds for while we're here? And you can put it in the chat, or you can turn your mic on for a second if you'd like. Again, super flexible. All right, well, keep thinking about it. If it comes to you at the end, we'll have time for sure. Okay, so the application timeline. So the application is already opened on Thursday. We have, last I looked, we had about 15 applications already. And the application will close March 17th. So you have just about a month to submit that. And then after the application closes, then and after the grants are processed, there will be a grant agreement that is sent out. And then that will be the grant agreement is due April 14th. We are in the process of onboarding a new grants person. So some of the timeline of some of the grant agreement, some of that may be a little modified this year, but generally it won't affect you as far as like submitting the application, getting the fund, like when you receive the funds shouldn't be affected. But there may be a little bit of bending of a few of these dates, like with the grant agreement. And then the spending period is May 15th through September 15th. So it's a summer programming grant, but obviously, especially if you're buying materials, you would want to buy materials prior to the summer programming. And we have those dates outlined there, but the reality is as soon as you receive your funds from the Department of Libraries, as soon as you get those $300, you can spend them. And it's possible that it could be before May 15th. So if that happens, you have the $300, you can go ahead and start spending. And then September 15th is the deadline for spending funds and holding performances. Last year, that was extended a little bit. There is some flexibility with these funds in general. With the flooding and of so many programs were canceled, a lot of programs went into September and October last year, and we totally understood that, and we made sure that was, that people were able to reschedule their programs. But generally, the September 15th is the deadline for spending all of the funds and holding performances. And then the certification, the grant certification and expenditure report is due November 15th. So that's where you'll submit all the information about how you spend and all the paperwork and all that stuff we'll get into a little bit. And hopefully some of those awesome pictures like we saw earlier. We always love to hear and see pictures of, hear stories and hear pictures of how the funds were spent, which is always great for us to see. Okay, so the application itself, this is starting, if you've done other application, if you applied for the summer grant last year, it is pretty much the same as far as the information you're being asked to provide. And it's pretty standard at this point for any grant through the Department of Libraries. It's all the similar information that you're going to be asked for. So I'm not going to get into it too much. But what I would like to do is I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to show you, some of you may have already applied, some of you may have already looked at the application, but I'm going to bring it up quickly. We work with a third party who creates the application, all of our applications for us that we're using right now for grant applications through a portal so that people can upload documents and pictures and all of that stuff, which otherwise we don't have the capacity to do. But they did update to a new platform, which visually looks better, but also has some features. The main one being able to save your progress, which was not capable, which we didn't have in the last year, and that's really helpful. So you don't have to complete it in one sitting like which was the case in the past. We know some people got started and then were like sort of lost their progress and were able to finish. So this year it is going, and again, not just for this, but for other like the capital spending grant as well. It's the same thing. Using that same platform, it will save your progress. So let me stop sharing for a second. And are you seeing this, Lee?
Yes.
You are, okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing sign in with your email address.
Yes. So I'm glad that came up. I'm not going to sign in right now. I'm going to switch over, but we do encourage you to create an account if you haven't already. And we encourage the person who's primarily responsible for the summer grant to create an account so that you can say it will save your progress. I believe it saves your progress even if you don't have an account, but we encourage you to do it, and then you'll receive an email once the application is complete. So sorry about that. That was not the thing I was going to share. I had it ready to go. Sorry about that. Okay. Are you seeing the grant application there? Yeah, sorry about that. Because we also have like the back. It was trying to log me into the back end of the of the platform, but you don't need to see that. You just need to. This is what you will see. And again, we do encourage you to create an account, but you do not have to, and it will save your progress. So you can see here, there's some tabs on the side, and because of that, you can go back and forth between different sections. So you don't have to do it in one sitting. You can revisit it, and it will tell you, it will show you anything that you're missing as you go along. So you should see, like you see here, the check mark next to introduction. Not that there's anything to put in on introduction, but it will show you that that section is complete. And then you'll see a drop down here. We have had some issues with the library drop down in the past. If for whatever reason you do not see your library in this drop down, we should have every library there at this point. But if for whatever reason you don't see it, please reach out to us and we can add it to there. We can add it to the drop down. So it does. Every library is eligible. Every public library is eligible. So if you're not seeing it there, just let us know and we'll add it. So again, it is a much easier form to use than what we've had in the past. So hopefully it will, there'll be less questions, but we're always happy to answer and whatever issues you run into, any questions that you might have. That's what we're here for. So always ask. And again, you can revisit this and it will show you each section. So like I can skip now to the tax subrecipient award section, but it shows me that the library grantee information section is not done. But so you would need to go back and fill that, but you can skip around to different sections, which is nice. And again, it's something that wasn't built into it in the past. So that is the application itself. And hopefully it's really simple. And okay, so I'm going to switch back over to the Are you seeing the you're not seeing it in presentation mode, are you?
We are seeing the last slide in your slideshow.
Oh, you are? How about now?
Same. There you go. Now we're on the first slide.
Okay. So now, again, for some of the paperwork, not going to get into this too much. Again, this is pretty standard for all of the grants at this point. So you will need a W-9 that's signed and dated within the last year. It used to be 6 months, and now it's within the last year. And then, again, you will be receiving information through DocuSign, which, again, if you've applied for any grants in the last couple of years, you're used to seeing that. So that will be when you get the information, the grant agreement, when you receive information that you have been accepted, that you will be receiving the funds. You'll get that information through DocuSign. And then the reporting. The reporting. So as you go along, you will need to keep any receipts for anything that you purchase. And you will also need an invoice for any performer. In the past, not last year, but there was a form where you had to get a signature from the performer. You no longer need that. That was something that was it was a challenge because you're trying to run a program and then you would libraries would forget to have them sign the day of. So we do not need that. When you submit the reporting, you're basically saying that I submit that everything here is like kosher and good to go. So you're saying that everything is good. And so we don't need a signature from the performer. We do need an invoice. If they don't provide you an invoice, you can create a very simple invoice just to show the name of the performer and how much you paid and a little information about it. And I believe on the grant guidelines, somewhere we do have a link. We have a simple template for that. And if we don't have it up yet, we'll make sure to put it up on the grant page so that you can create that if need be. And you can really submit those in any way that works for you. It could be you could take a picture of the actual receipt. It could be a PDF, whatever is the simplest way for you to upload those documents. Anytime you submit, especially that final reporting, just through this whole process, remember that I am seeing this, our grants person, Lily, is seeing, there are people on the other end receiving these documents, and we can help you in however, whatever if you're getting stuck with something, we will help you. And as long as we can see it, it's fine. If it's just a picture from your phone of a receipt, that's totally fine. And then again, we'll ask about information about the program itself, attendance numbers, summary of how the funds were used, and again, you'll be asked about how it was used to support the local economy. One thing I want to mention is that when you submit the application, it will ask you how you think you're going to use your funds. We know that that might change. It's super cold and it's very much not summer right now. And so we know that those things might change. So that's totally not a problem. If when you submit your report, it doesn't match up with what you initially said in your application of how you were going to use it, don't worry about it. You don't need to ask us. It's totally fine. We know that things change, but in the final reporting, we want to hear how the funds ended up being used. And that's it. Any questions? And I'm going to go ahead and put this slide up too.
Folks will need to unmute themselves using that microphone icon up on the top right.
Yeah. So while you're thinking of questions, if you have any, if you don't have any questions, that's pretty much the information. So if you have questions about the grant, this LibYouth grants email, I think if Lily, if you can put that directly in the chat too, you can put those links in there. That is the best email because multiple people answer that one about the grants. Anything relating to the grant, to the application or reporting. If it's more of a question about summer programming, you can email me directly, or if you just want to chat about how you like some strategies for promoting programs or how to tie what you're using for your funds into a larger summer reading program, you can email me directly. But if it's more about the grant itself, you can email that grant. But no matter what, or if you email me or Lily, we'll get you pointed in the right direction. But any questions that you have, we will help you with it. Again, one thing I didn't mention is that I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing here. So last year we gave the most grants we'd ever given out to the library. We issued 151 grants, and that's what we want. We want everybody to apply. We want everybody to get this. It is not a competitive grant, and it's the opposite of that. We want people. You need to submit the paperwork. There is a process to make sure that you're eligible to receive the funds if there's an issue, especially with like municipal libraries. If there's an issue that you might not be able to receive the funds, that could potentially stop you from getting the funds. But we also are here to, especially the grants person, to help you navigate that and to figure out how to fix those issues so that you can get it. And that's again, we want as many libraries to receive the money as possible. So hopefully we have even more than 151 this year. That's what we're hoping for. Any questions about anything relating to the summer programming grant?
Jonathan, JJ is asking, I missed the first slides. Those will be on the webpage. That's a question.
Yes, they will. Yes. Yep, we'll put up the whole presentation on the website, but the website already has most of the information that's in here too, especially relating to any of the deadlines. And then again, the grant, you are required to read the complete grant guidelines before submitting, before you submit the application. and that is available on our webpage, and maybe we can put that in directly too. But again, it's pretty straightforward. Guess I talked fast. Went through it quickly. But it's also, I think, because we really have streamlined this process, and there are no significant changes to last year, which I think is helpful, and hopefully will make the process much simpler for everybody. So if there are no questions, I think let's go ahead and stop the recording. And then if anybody wants to stick around, if you have any like specific questions about like applications or anything like that, we have time and it can stick around and answer it. But anybody who wants to go, please do so. We happy applicationing. And we hope that you apply, and if you run into issues, let us know. Any questions you have, we're happy to answer.